right, are we ready for the jury? Oh, we have things, okay. Yes, what do we have? All right, we're ready for the jury. All right, thank you. Seated. All right, your next question.
Your Honor, I'd like to move the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 155.
Okay.
That's the makeup palette.
Oh, okay. Any objection to that?
No objection.
All right, 155 in evidence. Do we have it?
I think it's there. We had pictures for.
All right, thank you. All right, 155 in evidence. 155, got it. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. Michelle, can you bring up Depp Exhibit number 357B as in boy, plaintiff's exhibit, and it is a tape recording from June 2016. The timestamps are 4:47 to 7:52.
All right. Is that in evidence yet?
I'm going to move the admission of it.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
was that going to be for the whole 357, or is that 357A, or is that?
That's just B. I have that as B as in boy. I think there was a portion that
Okay,
was put in there.
357B. Any objection to 357B?
No, Your Honor.
All right, 357B in evidence. Thank you.
I can just tell you the basic facts is like it was private for days after I filed. You did not have to file. That's not a move that other party has to make.
Okay.
It's just not.
Okay.
And you did.
Okay.
Well, your team did.
Okay.
And then within 5 minutes, it was in T&Z. You just do the math yourself without any other thing, and it's very clear.
Okay.
And I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know that, and if that's the case, I'll acknowledge it. You know, and if you say you have proof, then I'll acknowledge it. Look, it doesn't shock me that any fucking
It just makes sense.
attorney would do something like that. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't shock me. But I'm telling you now, if they file the fucking papers tomorrow, which means the shit I gotta file before we go to court on Friday. If they file those papers, it's, first of all, it's very bad for both of us, okay?
Well, your team's not gonna file anything that they think is bad for you. Trust me.
No, you're what you're saying. You got to do something to protect yourself, which means throwing me under the bus for some video about me being.
Not me. I have to respond legally, meaning I'll have to go and pursue the. No, I have to pursue the whole course of action, because here's what you don't understand. If we do this, and basically, no, because I called my lawyers and I said, why aren't we negotiating more? What is going on? Where are we? And they're like, everything is in their court. We literally
they won't settle. Your agents won't. Your lawyers won't settle, baby. I'm telling you.
No, we want to mediate. We even have we even found mediators and everything. Like, that was all worked out. The thing that Laura didn't agree to was she did not want to agree to a mutual gag order. And that's the problem. Like, she doesn't want the gag order. Why, Johnny? Why? Why wouldn't she? Why wouldn't she want both parties to not talk about this in the press? By the way, just talking about the press, not even talking about the court.
Okay,
Why?
I tell you what, Amber, let me get on that right now. I'll fucking get on it right now, and I'll get a message back to you somehow. Just but I'll get on it right now.
I just want you to know, I've not done anything and have not been doing any moves. Like, look it up, the timeline. Nothing was on the offense. Everything's been a defensive move because I'm being called a liar and a gold digger. And I'm not lying about any of this shit. And I am not after a dime of your money. And
Do you remember when you had this discussion with Mr. Depp?
Yes.
When was that?
I believe that was June of 2016, so after the divorce, while we still had the restraining order.
Okay. And what, if anything, was going on with respect to a gag order at that point?
Objection calls for speculation.
I'm asking her. I haven't.
All right, overruled. Good.
I was trying to get Johnny to stop the smear campaign that he
Objection,
launched.
Your Honor. Hearsay. Lack of foundation.
What, if any, discussion did you have with him about a smear campaign?
Johnny told me that he would ruin me, that no one would ever touch me, meaning professionally, no one would ever work with me again, that I'd never work again, that I'd be selling Depends, is what he said, and that he'd ruined my career, and he refused to not engage with. Up until that point, he refused to not engage with the press by leaking.
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
How is that speculation?
This is what he's telling her, correct?
Right.
Okay. All right. I'll overrule the objection.
And up until that point, I was trying to, get him to call the dogs off, call it off, because it was forcing me into a position where he was calling me a liar and he was forcing me to prove it. And I knew that wasn't going to be good for him. And I kept saying, don't make me prove it. I don't want to. But he was calling me a liar and having a really sophisticated, very, very well-paid, very sophisticated PR machine.
Objection, Your
going
Honor.
overtime.
Calls for
All
speculation.
right. I'll sustain the objection.
I'll move on. Let's go to Depp Exhibit, that's Plaintiff's Exhibit 357C. That's 12:30 to 16:30. I'm going to move the admission.
Any objection?
No objection, Your
All
Honor.
right. 357C in evidence.
All right. Michelle, if you can play.
You look good.
I'm not, it's not about that. It would not be about me throwing you under the bus. You know what it would be? It would be released through documented people coming on the record and having the protection to do so that haven't had yet. It would be eyewitness statements. It would be evidence, tons of it, and it would be through years. And it would be unbelievable, to imagine that either I'm in a secret fight club, or B, I've had
A secret what?
I've had a secret fight club, or that I have been plotting to do this for 3 years, and while taking pictures of it and documenting it, just saving it up for the right time when I'm not asking for any money and have nothing financial to gain from it. But no one is going to believe that. No one is going to believe that one of the two alternatives, either I'm in a fight club, or I've been going through hair and makeup, or going through makeup through all these years, where I have corroborating text messages between people that match those dates of those timestamp validated photos of either corroboration between people hearing us, or corroboration of next day, Whitney sending text message to Kevin, him responding, or the kind of stuff like between me and people in your life. It is insanely cross corroborated. Then it is a plan. I'm going to put makeup on myself and take pictures throughout years and just sit on it for years. While having this imaginary life run parallel to it. Do you understand that the pictures I have match with text messages to my mom back and forth about it, and text messages between, say, Raquel and my mom, or Raquel and my dad, or between my two friends. Or there's a text message where I tell Jody the night before I had that James Corden night show thing, where I say, hey Jody, I've had an accident. I think I have a busted lip, I may have a busted nose and 2 black eyes tomorrow, because I don't know how that will be until the morning and we may have to cancel. But see, I can hear it. I don't know how I'm icing it, I'll let you know in the morning, and things like that. It doesn't matter. There is nothing, and all of that won't be me throwing you under the bus. That will be evidence in this case, which it will be criminal as well, because I cannot go on Friday and file without filing a police statement first. And the only reason I haven't filed that police statement, which has been used against me, by the way, every day, and the only reason I won't do it, I haven't done it, is because I don't want to hurt you, and that means it goes out of my hands. And we have a third party prosecutor come, and a criminal lawyer come, and they went, the problem is, hearing from you, your biggest struggle is that it's the most solid evidence case of domestic violence I've ever seen, and if you give this over to them or present any part of this, they will prosecute him. And I felt like I'm not, I would never want that for you. It's hard for me to even understand. I don't call myself, in my head, it's hard for me to even accept any sort of victimdom ever.
Can you please explain what the context of this was?
I was begging Johnny to not make me prove what I've had to sit on the stand in front of all of you and prove and talk about. I was begging not to do this and have to sit where I'm sitting today. I didn't want this. I don't want to be here. I didn't want to be there then. And I was trying to point out something to somebody who I thought did not have a firm grasp on reality.
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled. Good.
Thank you.
I was trying to point out how absurd it would be for him to keep making me prove this by calling me a liar. I was trying to get him to not call me a liar, because everything that I had said to date and everything I've said to date now is the truth. And I was begging him not to make me prove it, that there were photos, that there were witnesses, that there was my testimony. There were years of me with injuries on the dates where we were fighting, and they were documented. I mean, pictures from 2012. So I was trying to say to him, either you'd suppose that people would rather believe this is a hoax, elaborate, well-orchestrated, year-long campaign for what? Or that, what? It just seemed crazy. And I thought no one was advising him in his best interest. I thought no one was telling him the truth. I know he's surrounded by yes men, and I thought nobody was saying to Johnny, this is crazy, don't do this. And I didn't want to hurt him. I didn't want to hurt him. I loved him. I loved him so much. That's why I'm explaining to him why I didn't file criminal charges. I didn't file a police report, even though it was being used against me. I didn't want this to go to a prosecutor. I didn't want this to hurt Johnny. I don't want this to hurt Johnny.
Michelle, can you bring up Depp Exhibit 357D as in David? And that is 17:25 to 17:37. I'm going to move the admission, Your Honor.
All right, any
No
objection?
objection.
All right. In evidence, 357D.
I've
Baby.
been called a liar.
Baby.
And I've been called
Baby.
a gold digger.
Baby.
Everyone is.
Baby. Amber, I didn't call you those things. I didn't call you those things.
I'm going to go on now to, can we go to Plaintiff's Exhibit 357E? And this is 21:47 to 22:37. I'm going to move the admission, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
357E. Thank you.
And you're stronger. And so when I say that I thought you could kill me, that doesn't mean you counter with you also that you lost your own finger. I am not trying to attack you here. I'm just trying to point out the fact of why I said call 911. Because you had your hands on me after using the phone and my face, and I just got crazy in the past, and I truly thought I need to stop this madness before I get hurt.
Oh my God.
And I never think about myself that way. I never defend myself that way. I never see myself as a victim. It's too fault, you know?
All right. Yeah.
And I, when they came, I did not cooperate with them. It has been used against me, not by the media, by your side.
And what are you referring to there?
That I don't want to call myself a victim. I don't like to think of myself as a victim, and I don't want him to think I'm attacking him or blaming him. I'm pointing out I didn't cooperate with the police, that I didn't want to get him in trouble, that I didn't want to hurt him. I don't want anything from him. Just don't call me a liar. It's all I said. Just don't call me a liar. Just don't say this isn't real. Because I'm the walking proof of it.
I'm going to ask to bring up Plaintiff's Exhibit, Depp Exhibit 357F as in Frank, 24:04 to 24:48, and move the admission.
All right, any objection?
No objection.
All right, 357F.
I have said only this from the very beginning. I only have my integrity. And the unfortunate thing is
What about mine?
taking it a step further.
What about mine?
They keep taking, that's what it keeps, I'm trying to say to you, literally in words. I'm out of my mouth, that's what I'm trying to say to you. Every step of the way, I have said to them, the thing is, they're hurting Johnny by this, because every time that they call me a liar, or they say this is not true, or Steven says this text message is not actually happened, or that your security guard, which by the way was a follow-up to your security guard thing, they never saw abuse happening. The same security guards who, by the way, have said to me multiple times that I was going to get killed.
And what are you talking about there, Amber?
That even though Johnny told me that his guards would say whatever he needed them to say, that they were the same guards who had told me that I would lose my life
Objection, Your
this
Honor.
way.
Hearsay.
All right, sustain the objection.
It came in through the tape, so that's all right. We're fine. Let's go, Michelle.
Your
let's go
Honor.
to
If we could approach, please.
I'm sorry. Michelle, can you bring up Depp Exhibit 357G, Plaintiff's 357G, and it's 26:00 to 26:28. Oh, move the admission, I'm sorry.
All right, any objection?
No objection.
Oh, obviously, they're gonna have to say they didn't see it in front of me and other people that have heard them.
You're going to have to do this under oath too, you know.
I will, because the unfortunate part is, I can talk about all of this.
Do you believe all this, Emma? Do you believe all this?
Oh, yeah, the fuck that, yes.
You believe I'm an abuser. You believe I'm an
What
abuser.
happened in May, in December, in April?
What were you referring to with the May, December, and April?
Just listing some of the times in which he beat me up and that he knew about.
So I'm going to take you now fast forward into the July 2016 timeframe. There was a mediation that came about during that time. What, if any, intent did you have to reconcile with Mr. Depp at the time of the mediation?
I wanted there to be no animosity. I wanted to minimize animosity. I wanted to reconcile in that way. I didn't want to get back together with him, if that makes sense.
Okay. Can you just briefly describe what transpired during the July mediation?
Even though I had a TRO and I wanted to move on with my life, the campaign I mentioned earlier, the smear campaign, the article after article, the hounding me, the, leaking fake.
Objection, Your Honor. Non-responsive.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Okay.
Please explain.
What I was meeting with him about is because he had, put these things out in the media. It seemed like every day
Objection,
there
Your
was a new
Honor.
attack.
Calls for speculation, lack of foundation.
All right.
Did Mr. Depp discuss with you that he was putting these out in the media?
Objection, leading.
Overruled, I'll allow it.
Yes.
Okay, please explain.
He told me he would tell his team to back off and to back off effectively if I agreed to do certain things. One of which, he wanted me to drop charges. He wanted, or some version of that. He wanted me to get back together with him and go on tour with him in the tour bus. He wanted me to do certain things that I thought were impossible and that would definitely go against all of everything that I stood for and had earned in getting my TRO, getting my restraining order and moving on. But I had to break the TRO in order to beg him to stop the machine, the press machine, because I was feeling like I couldn't live my life. I was being dropped from commercial opportunities. People were turning on me. A campaign I shot dropped me. I mean, it was just, I had never been inundated with that much press. Every single day, me and my family were, and every witness, anyone who even indirectly supported me, got bombarded. And the media
Objection.
campaign
Calls for speculation, lack of foundation.
I'll sustain just the last part of that. All right. Okay. Next question.
Okay. We heard Christian Carino testify earlier. Can you describe to the jury what your relationship was with Christian Carino?
He was my commercial agent, meaning he handled things like campaigns for a short amount of time. And then became Johnny's agent around the time of the divorce. He was a kind of mutual friend at the time between Johnny and I, and so he helped us kind of negotiate or mediate a time where we could meet, and my goal in that was to just beg Johnny to stop doing this.
Objection, non-responsive.
Overruled. That's right.
What, if any, desire did you have to return to Mr. Depp after the divorce?
None.
Now, you heard Mr. White testify that he engaged in negotiations with you during the settlement process of the divorce. What, if any, discussions did you have with Mr. White?
None. The first time I saw him was on the testimony screen in the UK during the UK trial. I've never spoken to him.
So he didn't negotiate your settlement?
No, he did not.
What was important to you in the divorce negotiations?
The statement. That was it. The statement. I wanted a mutual statement, and I wanted him to call get the press out of this. Just make a statement, and in that statement, clear my name. I wanted to clear my name. It's all I have. I said this to him too, and he knew this. All I have is my name. I come from nothing. All I have is my integrity. All I have is my name. And that's exactly what he promised to take from me.
Why did you agree to accept $7 million as your settlement?
I didn't care about the money. I was told if I didn't agree to a number, that it could be overturned. That this would never it would never get completed, it would never settle.
Objection,
and then it would be
hearsay.
overturned.
What was your
Sustained. Go ahead.
What was your understanding?
That if I didn't agree to a number, it would be overturned. So I took far less than what they were offering and what I was entitled to.
And why did you donate it to charity?
I promised the entirety of it to charity because I was never interested in Johnny's money. And in the divorce, I just wanted my safety. I wanted to move on with my life. I wanted my future. And then he started compromising that, calling me a liar, making it impossible for me to move on by doing so. So that I wanted the truth. I wanted him to clear my name and to leave me alone. I've been saying that since 2016.
So why did you donate 3.5 to Children's Hospital and 3.5 to ACLU?
Well, I pledged the first half, or 3.5, to Children's Hospital because I'd been working there as a volunteer for well over a decade. I knew the facility well. I'd worked there with another nonprofit is how I got affiliated with them, and I knew they could use the resources. I was familiar with it. And
What about the ACLU?
And then ACLU because I was a supporter, because I believed in the work they were doing. I believed that they were doing good work for people who deserved it.
Why did you make the donations over a period of time as opposed to just a lump sum?
Two reasons. The short of it is because I was receiving the settlement in installments. I was receiving the installments over time. Second of all, so I could get the tax benefit of paying overtime. It's my understanding that's how you pay these large sums. You pay it over time.
Did you make any payments towards these donations?
I did.
Okay. Approximately how much?
I allowed for the first installment, which is $100,000 to each. That came straight from Johnny in 2016. I followed up with $350,000 that year, 2016. 2018, I did another. Oh, and I also donated $250,000 to Art of Elysium, which is the affiliate I was just speaking about, that does the work in the Children's Hospital. It was not going to count towards my overall pledge, but I did that too. And then I did another donation to each in 2018. And then Johnny sued me, 2019.
Before we get to that, did anyone make donations to the Children's Hospital or ACLU on your behalf during that time period?
Yes, Elon also, Elon, who was my boyfriend at the time, had his own charitable contributions that he made. He made $500,000 to both in my honor, in my name, in 2017, I believe.
And have you completely fulfilled your donations to the ACLU and the Children's Hospital?
I have not yet,
And why not?
because Johnny sued me for $50 million in March of 2019, and I have spent over $6 million.
Objection, Your Honor. This is a motion in limine.
That part was supposed to come in.
All right, once you come forward, let's take a look.
So going back to that then, could you afford to continue making payments to the ACLU and Children's Hospital?
No.
Okay. What, if any, intention do you have to fulfill your pledges and donations to these organizations?
I still fully intend to honor all of my pledges. I would love for him to stop suing me so I can.
What, if any, deadlines are there on your pledges and donations to the ACLU or the Children's Hospital?
There are none. They understand.
Okay. Now, let's go to Defendant's Exhibit 1458, which is already admitted. Now, I'm going to just direct your attention to paragraph 27, where it says, neither party has made false accusations for financial gain. There was never any intent of physical or emotional harm. Amber wishes the best for Johnny in the future. What, if any, significance did that have to you?
That was everything to me. That that was the most important thing in the separation agreement between us, is that he acknowledged that I hadn't made a single false claim, that my allegations were not false. I thought that just because he signed his name to it, he'd honor it. I mean, he signed his name to it, and I thought it would mean something. He acknowledges that I never did it. I mean, I never made a false claim, and I didn't do it for financial gain. And that's what I was being called at the time, a gold digger and a liar.
Okay. Thank you. We can take this down, Michelle, and I'm going to now take you to post-divorce and your career. Please describe for the jury how your career evolved after the divorce, which I think was final in February 2017. I
had to fight really hard to keep my career. After I got my TRO, I lost opportunities. I got canceled from jobs. I got dropped from campaign I'd shot. I was told I was going to be dropped from...
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Sustained objection.
I fought to keep my job in a movie the biggest movie opportunity I had to date.
Which was what?
It was Justice League with the option to become Aquaman. It later became Aquaman, but I had to fight really hard to stay even in Justice League because that was right around the time of the divorce.
Can you tell the jury what Justice League was and what your role was in that?
It is a superhero franchise, DC action film, and it introduced my character, and it provided the base for the Aquaman spinoff that followed it, but that was not a reality at the time of shooting Justice League.
All right. And then you were able to be an Aquaman, is that correct?
Yes, I kind of showed up to work months early and stayed really late to fight to keep the job. I managed to keep it. And managed slowly to kind of to gain through this kind of hard work and goodwill I was able to foster. I was able to keep and make other jobs, and eventually made a movie called Aquaman, and Aquaman was very successful. I think it was the most successful DC film by its release, and I was getting my career back, even though it was, it took a major hit when I got my restraining order against Johnny.
So let's talk about Aquaman for a moment. I think you said it was the highest grossing film of DC films, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. When did that come out?
December of 2018.
Okay. And what was your role in Aquaman?
I play Mira.
And was that a lead role?
Yes, it is one of the leading roles. It's the female lead opposite Jason Momoa's character of Aquaman.
Okay, so you were his mate?
You could say that, yes. I was his love interest, the female, I was the female lead of the movie.
Okay. So in December of 2018, as Aquaman's coming out, why did you agree to participate in the op-ed?
Well, because I believed in some of the causes that the op-ed was seeking to advance. There was a lot of attention and energy around gender-based issues, gender-based violence issues in general. I had just recently become an ambassador for the ACLU. I was proud of that ambassadorship, and I was looking forward to the opportunity to lend my voice to what I thought was a great cause, which is just a conversation around women's issues and gendered issues that I think the whole country was having at that time, quite a political conversation and cultural conversation at the time, and I was happy to lend my voice if I could.
Who drafted the first draft of the op-ed?
The ACLU.
Did you initially want to include Mr. Depp by name or reference?
No.
What were you trying to accomplish by the op-ed?
I was trying to raise awareness around some of the issues that I just mentioned. There was some legislative reform, Title IX being one of them, and there was just a greater cultural conversation being had around gender issues, and I was happy to weigh in on what I saw as the unique phenomena that women and typically women experience in our culture when they come forward against somebody more powerful, when they speak up about gender-based violence. And I thought I could lend my voice to that conversation. I thought I had something to say about that.
Were you trying to boost your sales for Aquaman since it was coming out in that same time frame?
It doesn't work like that. I don't think any op-ed, a major motion picture or major franchise like that is not aided by the publication of an op-ed in the Washington Post. I'll put it that way. But the other way around can be said. I was wanting to lend my name at that specific time to potentially advance the causes within the op-ed.
Because of your success as Mira with Aquaman?
Yeah, just the publicity of the movie and the success of the movie would hopefully, in best case scenario, only add and lend itself would lend attention to the issues that the op-ed aimed to address.
What did you do once the ACLU had your agreement to be the spokesperson for the op-ed, to put your name to it?
I sought the advice of my attorney.
And why did you do that?
Well, because I didn't want to get into any sort of legal issue. I didn't want to have any sort of legal problems for talking about what happens to women or people when they come forward and speak about these sorts of issues, especially when they come forward against someone more powerful than them. And that backlash, the retaliation that people face when they come forward is exactly what I was writing about. And I didn't want Johnny to retaliate against me and quite literally prove my point.
And so who was the counsel that you hired to review the op-ed?
His name was Eric George.
Where is he located?
Los Angeles, California.
How did you know Eric George?
Eric George is the attorney who represented me in a different litigation against the producers of London Fields, the movie I mentioned earlier about having a body double and sex scene that I didn't approve of.
What was your understanding of Eric George's experience and skills to be able to review that op-ed for you in the context of your concerns?
Objection, speculation.
I'm asking her understanding.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Did you have knowledge of Eric George's abilities at that time?
I did. I thought he had an excellent reputation and would give me great advice.
Okay. And what, if any, experience? What was your experience with him in representing you earlier?
I thought he was a fantastic attorney, very smart, and I trusted him.
Without going into the content of it, what, if any, of Eric George's advice did you follow in the context of the op-ed?
I took all of his advice. I made all the edits he suggested. I took all of his advice.
And what, if any, of Eric George's advice did you ignore?
None. I mean, he's my lawyer. I listened to him.
Okay. I'm going to ask you, if we can pull up, Michelle, Plaintiff's Exhibit 1. Now, this is the online version of the op-ed, and it has this title, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. What, if any, role did you play in this title?
None.
What, if any, role, to your knowledge, did the ACLU play in this title?
None to my knowledge.
Okay. Are these exact words anywhere in the article?
No.
Okay.
No, they're not.
When did you first become aware of this title being included in the online version of the op-ed?
I think in this litigation is the first time I realized that.
Okay. I'm going to now ask, Michelle, can you bring up Plaintiff's Exhibit 2? And this has also already been admitted into evidence, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is the paper version, if you will, of the Washington Post with your editorial. And if you go to the second page, this one has a title, A Transformative Moment for Women. What, if any, role did you play in that title?
I didn't.
Okay.
None.
Now, do you recall seeing this version, the newspaper version, at the time?
Yes, this is the version I saw. I'm very proud of it. I had it framed.
You had the newspaper version, not the online?
I did. I had the newspaper framed.
Okay. And now I'm going to ask you to turn to, and Michelle, can we pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit number 3? And do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm going to move to admit Plaintiff's Exhibit number 3 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, 3 in evidence. You can
If we could
publish.
publish it to the jury. Thank you. Now, is it fair to say this is a tweet?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
And can you explain to the jury what a tweet is for those who are not as social media oriented?
A tweet is a posting on a social media network called Twitter.
Okay. Now, did you send this tweet?
I think so. I must have.
Okay. And what, if any, control did you have over whether the title given to the op-ed online was included in the tweet?
You don't have control when you're retweeting something. It's my experience that you don't control a title when you're retweeting something. You don't get a chance to re-editorialize someone else's title.
Okay. And at the time you sent this tweet, do you remember even noticing that title?
I do not. I don't think I even realized it.
Have you ever typed the words from that title?
No, I have not.
Now, I'm going to ask you, let's go back to number 2, plaintiff's 2. And I'm going to ask you, what, if anything, in this op-ed was incorrect?
Nothing. Every word of it is true.
And I'm going to direct your attention specifically, and if we can blow this up just a touch, and move up just a touch, Michelle, if you can, so we get to then 2 years ago. Then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. Was this true or false?
It's true.
What, if anything, did you do about speaking up about domestic abuse 2 years earlier?
Well, I went and got a restraining order against my then husband and walked out to a sea of media and endured to that point 2 years of vitriol from the media and from Johnny Depp supporters in retaliation for having done so.
And I guess you're really answering my next question, which is, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. Is that what you were referring to for that next?
Yes, because at the time, I thought it couldn't be worse. I obviously now, from where I sit today, know it gets a lot worse.
Okay. And then, Michelle, if we can move this up a little bit further. Well, actually, that's perfect, Michelle. Then I don't have to use my purple again. Then you said, I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse. Is this true or false?
True.
Okay, and explain to me what you meant by that and how that was true for you.
I got a restraining order. I had to prove to a judge that I needed one. I had a bruise on my face. I got a restraining order. I showed pictures. I had proof, and yet everyone, the media, the studios that both Johnny and I worked for, they were ready to support him. They made statements in support of him. They were ready to fire me.
Objection,
They
Your
attempted
Honor.
to fire me.
Hearsay.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
What, if anything, did you witness with respect to institutions?
Meaning the people that we work for, the institutions we work for, the studios we work for, decision makers in my industry, filmmakers and powerful people and decision makers within my industry whom I had not ever even met, who didn't know anything about what happened behind closed doors in the marriage of Johnny and I, were making comments about me, statements about me. I was dropped from campaigns. It was hard for me to work. I was harassed. I'm harassed on a daily basis, death threats, and just the fact that wasn't there was no parity. The studio and these decision makers and such were so ready to support him and eager to
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
I'll sustain the objection.
Right. So what, if any, ill will or bad intentions did you have or intend against Mr. Depp by assisting in writing, giving your name to this op-ed, and in publishing it?
None. It's not about Johnny. The only one who thought it was about Johnny is Johnny. It's about me. It's about what happened to me after Johnny. It's about what happened to me after I escaped my marriage. It was about me and my life and what I endured once I moved on and got a TRO and moved on with my life. It was about what happened to me after. The only one who made it about him, ironically, is Johnny.
I'm going to, we can take that down, Michelle. I'm going to turn to something about electronics and transparency. You've testified about, and we've seen photographs and audio recordings and text messages, emails, etc. What, if anything, have you done to cooperate in the authentication of all of these things?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Sure.
All right, I'm going to turn to your counterclaim. You have made a counterclaim against Mr. Depp in this case, correct?
That's correct.
And it's based on 3 statements that Mr. Adam Waldman, Mr. Depp's attorney, made, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask if you can pull up Defendant's Exhibit 245. But, Your Honor, I'm going to ask, do we have
It's already in evidence.
Your Honor, if we may approach
Okay,
just
sure.
real quickly, because I think we can move this along faster if we do this ahead of time. Okay, we're going to start by bringing up defendants 1245.
All right, and moving that into evidence, no objection, 1245 in evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor. And this is an article that was in the Daily Mail on 8 April 2020. You see that? And then, Michelle, if you can move that to the next page, and perfect. It says, Adam Waldman, Depp's lawyer, said afterwards, Amber Heard and her friends in the media use fake sexual violence allegations as both a sword and a shield, depending on their needs. They have selected some of her sexual violence hoax facts as the sword, inflicting them on the public and Mr. Depp. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Is this a true or a false statement?
False.
And why is it false?
Well, you have to use what I've lived through and what I've survived, calling it fake, saying that I'm harming Johnny with this, I'm harming the public with this. This is what I've lived through, and to say that it's a hoax, that these aren't even real things. I mean, after everything I've lived through and survived, and also I hadn't even spoken about the sexual abuse within my marriage. I had been protective of that. I didn't want to talk about that ever. Adam Waldman was the one who put that out in the world. As remarkable as that is, I had protected that. I had to go to another country to give testimony, and thankfully they allowed me to do so with confidentiality and some protection. And then Johnny, through his lawyer, not only uses that against me, but says it's a hoax.
Thank you. Now I'm going to ask if we can bring up, and it's going to be 1246A. And I think I'm moving this into evidence as well.
There's no objection, so 1246A is in evidence. You can publish.
And this is an article that was published on the 28th of April, 2020. And Michelle, if we can, thank you. And this one says, Depp's lawyer, Adam Waldman, said, quite simply, this was an ambush, a hoax. They set Mr. Depp up by calling the cops. But the first attempt didn't do the trick, he told dailymail.com. And let's keep going. So Amber and her friends spilled a little wine and roughed the place up, got their stories straight under the direction of a lawyer and a publicist, and then placed a second call to 911. Do you see that?
Yes.
Is that true or false?
Couldn't be more false.
And why is that?
Every part of it is false. I didn't call 911. I didn't call the police. I refused to cooperate with them to protect Johnny. I protected Johnny. I didn't call them once and I didn't call them twice. I didn't rough up the place. I cleaned up the place. I didn't even know the second cops were coming. If I wanted to get something from him, if I wanted to hoax Johnny, why wouldn't I cooperate with the police? Wouldn't I say something to the police? Wouldn't I do more damage to the house than just knock over the things that you saw pictures of? It makes no sense. And to do it online when there's no fact checking, there's no authorities, there's no one able to, I can't respond. I can't fight this and use these sorts of media leaks and these comments to re-echo over and over and over again online with a network of people that are intent on helping Johnny through a sophisticated PR machine.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay, speculation.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
All right. And so what, in fact, did you do that night?
I cleaned up. I protected Johnny. I refused to cooperate with the police, like so many other people do. I tried really hard to keep it private even after that, even when I was committed to filing for a divorce. I tried to protect Johnny. I tried to protect the history of what we had. I tried to protect him. And did the opposite. And I didn't even have a lawyer. I didn't call my publicist. I called my contract attorney to get me another lawyer who could give me advice on how to protect Johnny. Every bit of this was to protect Johnny and to protect the secret that I had fought really hard to keep for nearly 5 years, which was that behind closed doors, things were not what it looked like.
Okay. Michelle, can you take this one down and go to defendants 1247, please? And Your Honor, I'll move the admission.
All right. I know there's no objection. 1247 in evidence.
And Amber, this is another daily, a Mail Online, and this is published on 24 June, updated on 25 June 2020. And then if we can go further. And this one says, Depp's attorney, Adam Waldman, said, "We have reached the beginning of the end of Ms. Heard's abuse hoax against Johnny Depp." Is this true or false?
False.
And why is it false?
Because unfortunately, all of this is real. And what I mentioned earlier about how preposterous it would have to be for this to be this elaborate hoax, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't fathom one day that that would actually be legitimately the position that he, through a lawyer, would take, albeit online, where he could get away with it for some time.
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustain the objection.
And why is this so absurd?
Because Johnny and I lived this. We lived through this. I lived through this, and I narrowly survived it. But I survived it. And, I have mountains of evidence, mountains of proof, and yet it won't be good enough for people who are seeking to make money off of Johnny's success.
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
I'll sustain the
That's
objection.
fine. Okay. So I'm going to take you now to the damages that you've suffered as a result of these statements by Mr. Waldman on Mr. Depp's behalf. Please tell the jury how you were doing reputationally.
Objection. That's a legal conclusion, Your Honor.
I'm sorry?
We move to strike counsel's testimony.
Come forward. From the record, we'll disregard that question. All right, your next question.
What was your understanding of on whose behalf Mr. Waldman was making those three statements?
Objection. Lack of foundation. Calls for speculation.
If you want to approach again, that's not what we just said here. I just want.
So we'll move forward to my other question here. How were you, please tell the jury, how were you doing reputationally before these three statements were made, beginning April 2020? April 8 was the first of them.
Objection, Your Honor. I'm going to object on lack of foundation.
She can talk about her reputation.
Overruled. I'll allow.
It took hard work. It took a lot of hard work on my part, but I was able to work, get my life back on track. I was taking care of my myself emotionally. My career, I was working really hard. I was able to star in a major success. I worked on a TV series that I had been attached to for a very long time. I became an ambassador for several nonprofits that I deeply care about. I was doing a lot of really, it felt really good to be doing the social work and the charity work that I was doing. And I was also filming and working and planning on, I was awaiting a schedule from Warner Brothers for Aquaman 2, the sequel. And I had wrapped on that TV series I mentioned, and I was waiting to start doing publicity for it to promote it. And I had a campaign, a global campaign, as a spokesperson for a major beauty brand. So things were, the trajectory was positive.
So how did things change after these statements were made?
I remember around the time, unfortunately, I lost my mother on the 1st of April. And I remember it was when I was grieving her that I got a call that I should be expecting a script for my role in Aquaman 2.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
It's not offered to prove the truth of the matter.
Overruled.
Go ahead.
So I was waiting a schedule and a script for that. Feeling concerned that, I wouldn't have enough time to grieve before having to get back into work. I had a press schedule to promote the TV series I was doing, and I was shooting things for this beauty brand. And then I remember at that time the beauty brand had to suspend posting what I just shot for them because they were getting bombarded.
Objection, Your Honor. This is hearsay.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. All right.
They said no. They suspended what I had shot.
Objection, Your Honor.
That she can testify to that, Your Honor. She has to be able to testify.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. Were you actively involved in campaigns for L'Oreal before these articles?
I was.
Were you actively involved in campaigns with L'Oreal after these articles?
No.
Were you with the Stand? You were talking about the TV series. That was the Stand, correct?
Yes, the TV series that I had already completed.
All right. And were you actively involved in publicity for the Stand prior to these articles?
Yes, I was.
Were you actively involved in the publicity after these articles?
No, shoots were canceled. Things were
Okay.
canceled.
With respect to Aquaman 1, Aquaman 2, you'd already starred in Aquaman 1, right? Just so and they called it Aquaman at that time, but now there's an Aquaman 2, just right for...
That's correct.
Okay. So were you actively scheduling timing for filming and scripts for Aquaman 2 before these articles?
Yes, I was.
Were you actively scheduling after these articles?
No, the communications stopped at that point.
All right. I'm going to... Michelle, can you bring up Defendant's Exhibit 1258? I'm going to show you what has been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 1258. It's dated September 21, 2015. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Okay. What is it?
It is the Justice League Aquaman contract.
Okay, Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 1258.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. May we approach?
Oh, sure. Yes, ma'am.
So, Amber, can you explain to me how the contract structure was for Justice League and options? Just explain to the jury, please.
It's structured like a three-picture option. I signed on to do Justice League, where my character was introduced. The fee is, small relative to what it will become if and when you do the other options or movies in that under that umbrella. So it was the contract for Justice League, which could then become Justice League 2, or it could be Aquaman, or it could be some other movie within the DC universe. And the second picture ended up being Aquaman. And then the third picture, Aquaman 2. Each time the fee goes up, but...
Objection, Your Honor. This calls for speculation, lack of foundation.
Overruled out loud.
As far as the contract is concerned, that's what the contract says.
All right. And if we go to page 6, so what was your fee going to be for Aquaman? And what was it for Aquaman?
$1 million.
Okay, and then was there also box office bonuses, opportunities?
Yes, I believe.
Okay.
Yes, there are box office bonuses. If it makes a certain amount in the box office, you get a bonus.
Okay. And it says picture number 2. At the time you entered into the contract with on Justice League, did they know what the picture would be?
No, as I mentioned before, when you do the contract...
Objection calls for speculation.
All right, I'll sustain that objection.
Okay. So ultimately, what was picture number 2?
Aquaman.
All right. And then what was it for picture number 3?
Aquaman 2.
Okay. And what was the fee under the option agreement at that time?
$2 million.
Okay. Now, did you have contracts with L'Oreal?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And can you just describe for the jury what was involved with L'Oreal? You talked about being involved in campaigns and then not. Just explain that to them if you can.
As a spokesperson, I'm just involved with the brand as a representative, and a certain amount of commitment you have to do throughout the year on social media and on red carpets promoting various products or causes they're advancing. Generally, it's just like a brand ambassadorship.
Okay. And did you, let's pull up 1262. And this is dated as of April 25, 2018, correct?
That's correct.
Was that your first contract with L'Oreal?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And was that for a term, a specific term?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Was it for 2 years?
Yes, it says 2-year contract, and that sounds right.
All right. And then I'm going to ask you to turn to 1264. And that's April 20, 2020. And what, if anything, did L'Oreal do with regard to extending your contract then?
They extended it. They chose to extend it with the option to kind of...
All right. And did they extend it just an additional 3 months? If you look at paragraph 1.
Let's see. Yes, they did.
Okay. And what, if any, work did you do for L'Oreal after these 3 statements were made?
I have only been able to participate in, I believe, 1 live event that they also couldn't promote or use the material from because of...
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
And I'll
Hearsay.
sustain the objection.
Okay. Now let's go to 1265. And this is, as of November 15, 2021, this is another extension with L'Oreal, correct?
Yes, it is.
And if you look at the second option term under paragraph 1, it's an extension of 20 months, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And what, if any, work have you been able to do for L'Oreal since this contract?
As I stated, I believe I've only done one in-person event with them, and they couldn't use the material.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the stand for a minute. Let's pull up 1263. And this is dated July 3, 2019. And I believe you indicated that you had already filmed it by the time these statements were made in April and June of 2020. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And what, if any, marketing opportunities were you participating in prior to those articles?
We had appearances, talk show, press, the normal kind of group cast press junket, promotional material, photo shoot, and I had various publicity engagements lined up, like a magazine cover, that sort of thing, to promote the film. To promote the series.
And what, if anything, were you able to do with marketing opportunities after the 3 articles were published?
None.
What, if any, covers were you on after that for the stand?
They pulled the offer for that, so none.
Okay. And while we're on this agreement, if you look at the second page, how much were you paid for the stand? It's at 6C. $200,000.
Oh, $200,000 an episode.
Okay. Now let's pull up Defendant's Exhibit 1266. Have you been able to get any work since that time?
I have done one small independent film.
Okay, and tell the jury what that is.
I shot a film in Guatemala. It's a small independent, meaning it doesn't have distribution or, it doesn't have distribution or anything. It's a lower budget film that I had been attached to for many years called Into the Fire.
Okay. And 1266 has, as of January 13, 2022. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. When did you actually film for this in Guatemala?
March. I believe it was March of this year.
Okay. And do you recall what your compensation was for that?
I don't off the top of my head. I'm
If you
sorry.
can look at ALH 17628, it's paragraph 6A.
Oh, 65,000.
Okay. And have you participated in Aquaman 2?
I have.
And tell us about that.
I had to fight I fought really hard to stay in the movie. They didn't want to include me in the film.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. Were you ultimately able to get to film in Aquaman 2?
A very pared down version of that role, yes.
Okay. What, if anything, changed in the script?
They took away a lot of...
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
I think she can
Lack of
testify.
foundation.
Overruled as the script.
Go ahead.
I was given a script and then given new versions of the script that had taken away scenes that had action in it, that depicted my character and another character without giving any spoilers away. They're two characters fighting with one another, and they basically took a bunch out of my role. They just removed a bunch out.
And what, if any, leverage did you have to negotiate a higher salary beyond the $2 million?
Objection, speculation.
I'll sustain the objection.
What, if any, effort did you make to negotiate a higher salary for your participation.
I couldn't renegotiate my contract.
And why not?
Objection, this calls for hearsay and speculation.
Do you know why?
Still the same objections, Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection.
All right. Amber, I'm going to ask you to describe to this jury the emotional impact on you of these three statements that we have talked about, these three counterclaim statements. Please describe how this has impacted you.
These statements are used over and over and over and over again online to reverberate, re-echo, and re-energize.
Objection, Your Honor, this is not responsive, lack of foundation,
It's
and hearsay.
responsive, Your Honor. She gets to give her content for it.
Well, the question was, your emotional impact of these statements.
Okay.
The impact it has on me is every time I look at it, which is every day. I am set back. I have to relive it. I have to have the worst, most painful things I've ever gone through, painful memories I've ever had, the things I've narrowly survived at times, embarrassing, intimate details that I never wanted to be known, never wanted to be public ever, and to have them used every single day to call me a liar. I have to relive this every single day, that I have to. Deeply humiliating and personal things that I've survived are used against me every day, over and over again. It's torture. I'm in so much pain emotionally. I just wanted him to leave me alone. I wanted to move on with my life. And he won't let me. By making statements like this, he won't let me. I have to be here today. I have to be reliving it every single time. He, with these statements, with these leaks, these comments, once again makes me have to speak to the most horrifying things I have lived through. It's torture. It's torturous. I want you to have to do that. I want to move on with my life. I have a baby. I want to move on. I want Johnny to move on too. I want him to leave me alone.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's probably a good time to go ahead and take our afternoon recess based on that. So go ahead and do not discuss the case, and don't do any outside research, okay? We'll see you in 15 minutes, okay? Thank you. Please, court is still in session. I need it to be quiet in the gallery. Thank you. All right. Why don't we just make it 3:25 then? We'll come back at 3:25? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.